Last time on Macho Motors.
Oh crap. This sucks, but I ended up locking the keys in the car, so your boy had to do what you gotta do.
I could have gotten your keys out without breaking the window in 15 minutes max. Bro really broke a whole window because he locked the keys in the car. Slim Jims do work for older vehicles, so what's the worst that could happen? You break the window? Dude, how about a Slim Jim?
Hey guys, and welcome back to another Macho Motor video where we're gonna finish everything mechanical on the Mazdaspeed 3 today. Yes, every mechanical issues. We went through a lot of struggles while doing it, so be prepared for a little bit of frustration in this video. And I know some of you guys was frustrated when I broke the window to get into the Mazdaspeed 3, but YouTube never tells the full story, and I desperately needed to get into the video ASAP, and I did not have one of those car unlock kits, but we do now. So if any future accidents where keys are getting locked in or there's no key at all, we'll be more prepared for any situation to come for the future. But without further ado, let's jump right into fixing every mechanical issue wrong with the Mazdaspeed 3. I'm Macho, this is Macho Motors. Let's get to it. Oh no, I locked my keys in my car. Good thing I got a Slim Jim. You guys were right, having a Slim Jim does help. Let's get to work. Now time to tackle the CV axle because I think that's a big issue as to why we have such crazy wheel hop whenever we're doing a strong pull with the car. The Mazdaspeeds are known to have torque steer, which is completely normal. It's too much power going to a front wheel drive car, but just how crazy the wheel hop is on this car is just ridiculous. So hopefully that'll fix that issue. The last issue we're tackling on today is the CV axle, which I showed is completely destroyed. Luckily, it is so much easier on the Mazdaspeed than the Honda. So all we have to do is remove this castle nut and one ball joint, and then it should be able to pop out without removing the suspension. Pretty easy, let's get to work. This castle nut looks like it's gonna give me a problem, so we're not taking any chances. All right, we're losing the torque with it rotating. Not budging. We need more power. Hard to really film, but we're gonna remove that one bolt for the ball joint and then remove the ball joint from the bottom. Just so you could get a better idea of what I'm doing, there's this bolt that goes through there that pinches the ball joint threads into place. I'm using a crowbar and I'm hammering it in there so that way there's less tension holding it on, and hopefully that'll help us break it loose. And now with the lower ball joint out, we should be able to just, oh my goodness, that's not good. The CV axle completely just disconnected itself. All right, that makes removal a little bit easier, I think. The CV axle pretty much fell out. We still have the other end connected to the transmission, so we're gonna hook a pry bar to it and pop it out. I'm so happy right now. It is like 2 hours later, but here's the recap. I have a pan there because it's leaking transmission fluid, but I pulled out every single pry bar that I have and every screwdriver, but ultimately I ended up going to get a loaner tool, which was another frustrating process because they kept on giving me the wrong one, and they still gave me the wrong one, but luckily I was able to have this set up here, a slide hammer with this little hook attachment, which wasn't the best, but ended up working out. Attached that to the end of the CV axle, gave it a couple yanks, and it popped out. So, ooh, I'm happy. This is why it pays to have the right tool, because I wouldn't have wasted all my time going to the parts store, trying to get the loaner tool, and it was just a mess. But I'm happy we got the CV axle out. Now let's put the new one in. All right, so here's what I did. I got the end of this hook, put it on the end of that CV axle, couple wank, and we got it removed. Now I'm very hopeful that I bought the correct part, because to be honest with you, I bought this part all the way back in like November because I knew the CV axle was broken, but I never checked if it was the right part, and we are no longer in the return windows. All right, so here's the old one and the new one. We obviously know why the old one is bad and why we're replacing it, but I'm not 100% sure if the parts match up, because this one has this like thick ring, whereas this one doesn't. The length of them seem to match up. Same as this one. It looks like they're all pretty much lined up as best as I can. But I don't know, they're just a tiny bit off. Like even the design of this one versus this one, they just look a little bit different. But I'm still going to try to install it because I can't return this part. It's been months. All right, now carefully going in with the new CV axle.
One eternity later.
I think we're gonna call it for today. I'm super hungry. It's hot out, so I'm a little dehydrated, but I think we may pick this back up tomorrow morning and double check that the CV axle is the right part.
Day 2.
Okay, after 2 days of work, yes, 2 days, the CV axle is finally fully seated. Bye, Sensei, thank you. And this is why it pays to know people sometimes, because I've been working on that CV axle for like 2 days now, and he came in 10 minutes and got it done. So very thankful. Shout out to Sensei. He's a little camera shy, but he don't want me to tell you that. Here's a little bit of a recap of what we done. I tried multiple times to get it done. Coming out here, trying for 15 minutes, quit, come back, repeat. But ultimately, I think what happened was the new CV axle had a C-clip that was just a little bit too large for the hole opening. So we ended up swapping the old one onto the new one. And after about 10 minutes of pushing, he was able to get it in. I even bungee cord everything out of the way just to make a little bit more room. And as you can see here, we were able to get the CV axle in, but not without a casualty. The sway bar end link ended up popping out of that little socket right there. So now we got to order a new sway bar end link. But I don't care. This was far more important, and I'm happy that we're about to get this done. So let's finish up this job, take it for a test drive, and hopefully no more torque steer. Let's release this. Finally got the CV axle almost in. I'm just gonna get a few threads on just so it doesn't pop back out. And then for the lower ball joint, we got it in but not bolted down. So what I had to do was align everything together, and then I used my jack here to push the lower control arm into that little socket that's there. And eventually I heard a pop and everything fell into place. Lower ball joint is in. Of course I had it on loosen. Tried to be cool. It is running just how I remember it. When I first test drove one at a dealership, it just brought me so much smiles. And this is what I love about cars. You know, it doesn't have to be the fastest, even though this one's pretty fast, but it's just about the joy of driving the car, whether it's slow, weird, clunky, fast, turbo, non-turbo. It's just the love of cars. All right, we have tons of parts coming in for the Mazdaspeed 3 today. So I want to be proactive instead of reactive. So we're going to start by taking off all the wheels, all the rotors, all the brake pads, everything. So that way when all the parts come in, we can just plop it all on. I'm going to take a wild guess and say I did something wrong, because I've never seen a caliper done do that. It was just so many bolts on here, and I just kept on taking them off. And the caliper split in half. It's my first time working on a Mazdaspeed, so something's bound to go wrong. But look how far the piston was out on the caliper. Like, that's crazy. I just started using this brake caliper compressor, and honestly, I like it pretty well, because you're just one-handed. And we're going to hang up the caliper here, so that way it's not hanging off the brake line. And this side is all prepped and ready. And if you're wondering why we're doing this, this is what the rotor looks like. Super shot, and you guys sometimes say, oh, this will clear out if you drive, but sometimes it's just too far gone to really even make it salvageable. And I'm pretty sure this is one of those cases. All right, parts are finally in. I do not have a lot of time. I only got about an hour to work on the Mazdaspeed. So enough talking, time to focus, time to get to work. Even here are all the old brakes and rotors. The front brake pads, pretty terrible. Rears, they look pretty much brand new, so no real need to replace the rears, but it was cheap enough to do all four that we're gonna do all four anyway. But here is the pile of rotors and brake pads that we have. going in. I'm going to start with the rear first because I think it's going to be easier. First step is to find out which one of these is the rear, which I think it might be this one. Yep, that looks like the same size as that one because that one is way bigger than the other one. Alright, so rear brake job completely done. All we got to do is put back on the wheels, put a little bit of anti-seize on the rotor, and we're all done. I'm going to do the other side, pop on the wheels, and I'll catch you guys in a minute. So once again, Amazon has failed me. For some reason, they sent me out rear brake pads for the correct car, but I only have one brake pad left. Meaning, I'm missing a whole other brake pad. Like, why did you guys send me out 3 brake pads? I'm so over Amazon. They're just lucky they got cheap prices, because this is ridiculous. The bag was open of the sealed brake pad, but come on, you couldn't check your returns? Obviously somebody returned this and took out a brake pad. So now we got to order another one and wait for it to come in, and we can't even finish. Alrighty, next day here with the Mazdaspeed 3, we're going to work on the front brakes because unfortunately the rear brake still hasn't came in yet. So at least we'll finish up 3 out of the 4 wheels and then wait for the last brake pads, finish it all up. And I think that's every mechanical issue done with the cars. Oh, but I forgot, we still got the wheel bearing to do on the left rears. We'll get to that eventually. Right now I just want to see how it feels driving with the new brake. I accidentally bought the brake pad with the brake wear sensor, and instead of waiting for the right ones to come in, we're just going to go ahead and give it a little snip right there, and now we're back to regular brake pads. This job is a little bit different than most because you put on the brake pads first and then slip it over the rotor. I can't just put it onto the caliper bracket. So it's a little bit tight when you're putting it back together. Whew. And it's on. So it's hard to tell, but I'm seeing a pretty big issue. Inside here is the brake rotor. And if you see right here, this is the brake pad and it's sticking out that far. Either we got the wrong brake pads or wrong rotor, and I think it's more likely to be the wrong rotor because right now everything else is lining up pretty good. But I have the old rotors here, so I'm going to measure the diameter of this one and then check on that one and make sure that they're the same, because when I checked it up close it looked like it was the same, but I just want to be 100% sure. Almost 13, almost 12. Did I buy the wrong rotors or was I given the wrong rotors? Because I'm on a streak right now. So I took off the brake rotor just to double check, and sure enough, it's probably about half a foot off. We got to redo the fronts, but I did recheck the rears and the rears are okay. Now we have to wait for the rear brakes, and I got to take off everything I did for that wheel. You can see it's already on because it's done, and I got to redo it for this one. It's been a few minutes for you guys, but it's been a week for me, so this is the reason why we're replacing the wheel bearing once again. Way too much noise for a wheel bearing to be had. I've been soaking these bolts in for over a day and reapplying. I already have one of them out here because I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be a crazy struggle, which it isn't. And I broke the others loose, so let's finish taking off the wheel bearing, hammer it out, pop in the new one. And I'm not going to say it's easy because every time I've said it's easy, it hasn't been easy. So, should be difficult. So let's get to it. Part of me wants to just risk it and dug it out, but with how terrible these threads are, I was scared, so we're going little by little. I really wish I could fit an impact somewhere in here, but it's just too tight, so I've been doing it all by hand, and they're coming out, but it's slow. So just to decrease the risk, we're gonna get a little fire involved just to make sure that the bolt comes out a little bit more smoothly. I lied when I said the Mazda would be easier than the Honda, but it is definitely not. It's kicking my butt. I got 2 out of the 4 bolts out, and the other 2, I really think they're going to strip out. I'm trying to be super careful. Heat, penetrating fluid, heat, penetrating fluid. Turn a little bit and repeat that over and over again, and we're making progress, but it's slow. I also noticed a future problem for myself. The exhaust is cut from there all the way up to somewhere about here. Just to give myself a little bit more room, I'm going to remove the muffler because it's just dangling right there, not hooked to anything. Oh yes, 3 out of the 4 bolts are out. I'm pretty sure I stripped the threads on the Torx bolt. So I'm gonna give it another try, but I'm not hopeful that this last bolt is gonna come out. Oh, there we go. That was the whack it needed. And now I think we have enough room here to cut the threads. Thank you. Whew. A little bit more, can we? Oh yeah, that's plenty of room. Oh, I thought this project was gonna be a goner, but we can definitely cut the threads from there. Safety glasses. See? I do care about safety sometimes. You guys always say I skip over safety. I think we got it. I think we got it. Let's go! But there you have it. We cut straight through the bolt right there. We were able to hammer it out. So got crazy lucky. Crazy lucky with this, because this could have been way worse. I think now is a good time for a break. And when I say take a break, I mean work on something else to help keep our brain stimulated, like the front brakes, because the new rotors finally came in and the brake pads are sitting perfectly. So we can finally finish up this job. Now this brake pad is sitting all the way up to the edge. Here's the rim of the inner brake rotor. Here's the actual usable rotor part. It sits right up against that edge. Right here, it's sitting up against this edge with no lip. So beautiful brake job complete. But before we install the new wheel hub, we need to take out the old wheel speed sensor, which is right here. Good. And we are going in with a little bit of Loctite. And this is actually my first time ever using Loctite. I know there's probably more examples where I should have used it, but this is the first official time. New wheel hub bearing, an old dust shield. You guys can roast me on the comments about it. I'm sorry, I forgot to buy one. But would you rather have a week delayed video because of this, or a crusty dust shield that's gonna be crusty on all the other ones anyway? All we gotta do is brake rotor, brake pads, and we can finally drive it after about 2 or 3 weeks at this point of just sitting here. Oh, am I extremely disappointed and frustrated? Yes. So here's the situation. Here are the old brake pads. Obviously, not that bad of shape, and genuinely considering reusing them at this point. Amazon gave me the option to either return it or get it replaced. I was like, they can't get this wrong. You're just replacing the same exact one that I got. So I press replace. Tell me why this is what they send me. Do you see the issue? Completely different brake pads. All I asked for was a replacement. Now we got to delay and wait another 2 days just to get this job finished up, because all I need is 2 brake pads and be done. That's it. 2 brake pads, 2 bolts, wheel, and done. I'm willing to take the heat because for the first time in like 3 weeks, the Mazdaspeed 3 is down on all 4 wheels without jack stands, without anything, for the first time. And that is because I ended up putting the old brake pads on it. I'm sorry. I am sorry, okay? I know it's a terrible thing to do. Why would I do all this work and throw the old brake pads on? But honestly, they weren't in bad shape. And the next day available to get brake pads is 3 days from now. I cannot wait 3 days for new brake pads to come in. I need to see what it's like to drive this car with new brake rotors all around, new brake pads in the front, new wheel bearing in the rear left, new sway bar end links in the front, new CV axle on the driver's side, and a tire rotation all around. Let's finally take it on a test drive after 3 weeks of sitting. First start, hopefully the battery isn't dead. She struggled a little bit, but she's good. The car right now is driving extremely smooth. We're a little way over budget for this car. I'm really enjoying driving it. Is it the next project car for the channel? No, no. Focus, Macho. Sell stuff. Sell stuff. Don't keep every car that you like. So all of a sudden the brakes feels like they're locking up. Oh, that can't be good. Smoking out of this one wheel. An easy test to figure out if a brake is locking up. You can touch the wheel, and if the wheel feels hot, then that's a good sign that the brake is locked up or something is going on with your brakes. But an easier sign is just watching the smoke that is just coming out of the front left. So time to figure that out. That is one smoky girl there. We're gonna allow the car to cool down before we even touch this wheel because I have no idea what's going on. All right, we have the brakes completely disassembled and I don't see anything obvious here. I pressed on the brakes, the caliper comes out very smoothly. I retracted it, it went back very smoothly. So right now I'm not really seeing any smoking gun, but I did notice that the guide pins were a little bit gunked up. So I'm cleaning those off and putting new grease in there and putting it back together, taking it for another test drive and see what happens. But you can see rotor was definitely getting hot. At first glance, there was no real issues with the brakes or brake caliper or anything, but I noticed when I squeezed the clips in to get the brake pads in a little bit easier because it was really tough, I might have squeezed it too much, making the brake pads too loose, and it was popping out of the caliper, causing it to just loosely press onto the brake rotors, seizing the brakes and causing it to heat up a little too much. With that being said, we were able to drive it to the intro location, meaning that it is running and driving once again. And it feels phenomenal. Honestly, I have no issues mechanically for this Mazdaspeed 3, minus the lack of exhaust that is in the rear that we may not fix. Honestly, we're way over budget for this Mazdaspeed 3 and I have no idea how we're gonna make profit, but we will find that out in next video. Yes, next video where we're gonna fix up some of the cosmetic issues and hopefully sell the car for a little bit of profit. So as always, I appreciate you guys watching till the end of the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace. And this is the beauty of working without a shop. This is what I gotta deal with sometimes, but it is what it is. We're making it work every day. Here's a little extra bit. So after driving a little bit more, I heard a crazy clunk coming out of the front. It sounded like the CV axle blew up. Mind you, I was pushing the car and I was doing a couple pulls, but it just sounded super crazy. And luckily, somebody just forgot to torque the lug nuts. But that was very scary. I thought I broke something. And we got a couple lug nuts that are loose, which I think is these three. These two down here are tight, but we're gonna torque them all to spec. Make sure we don't have this issue again. All right, wheels all torqued. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.